Okay, thank you for seeing me. No time short. I'm on a visit here to Fiji to try and get a different view from the view that we're shown by the New Zealand media, from people who haven't been in New Zealand, haven't been in Fiji, but write about Fiji all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in your perspective, firstly, on things like the smart sanctions.
Yes.
What sort of impact they've had on Fiji, and do you think that the New Zealand and Australian governments have achieved what they wanted to achieve, whereas Fiji just set about doing what it needs to do on its own path to democracy?
I think in terms of effect of the smart sanctions economically, I don't think they've worked because in terms of the measuring our trades, across Australia, New Zealand, and from Fiji, it has, it has grown from the day the sanctions started. There's never really been any. Yes, I think there's rumors that maybe through quarantine and all that they try to, tighten the strings a little bit on products that we export to New Zealand. Mm-hmm. But hey, I hear that Fiji pawpaws or papayas are still the best in New Zealand, and they are perhaps, the biggest number of pawpaws sold in New Zealand are from Fiji.
Right.
So there's no doubt about the quality of what we do or about the volume of what is coming across. So economically, I think there has not been any significant impact, but if at all, I think it is actually there's been an increase. So that's not worked. That's not worked to try to discourage people from investing here or coming across. And the tourist numbers have gone up, and the biggest contributor of that are Australia, New Zealand. So that's not worked. What it has actually done is actually victimized people, families, people who have decided to stay in Fiji, look after their country during hard times and not run away. And they have been people that have been penalized and they are unable to maybe send their children to New Zealand for medical treatment. They've been unable to visit families, and so on and so forth. So it's really at the human level that this has touched. So what has that gained? I think a negative impact in terms that there is a deep resentment.
A deep resentment of the New Zealand and Australian government?
That's correct, yes. The policies, not the New Zealand people. I don't think it's, we love, we love the Kiwis and the Aussies. We love your rugby, and whatever else, that we come to Australia and New Zealand for. Mm. But these policies are actually impacting or affecting the people that is, at the beginning, it was never intended for. Mm. For whom it was intended, it has not worked. And Fiji has found alternatives. And at the end of the day, what has it cost?
So do you believe that the so-called smart sanctions may have actually strengthened Fiji in terms of
our resolve as a nation and as a people?
Yeah, so you don't need Australia and New Zealand wagging their finger and telling you how to do things. You've found your own way through.
This is the free world, This is the free world. Obviously, we understand that there are roles that, bigger cousins have to play in the region, economically, as equal partner, to help each other out, in every way.
Yes.
Not in a way that gives advantage only to a certain party, but it is not. It is not a relationship that warrants anyone to be, finger pointing and say, hey, you back up, and all that stuff. So
did you hear Phil Goff's, the former foreign minister's comments on Friday?
No, I haven't. But maybe you can tell me what he said.
Well, basically, he continued the policy that he oversaw under Helen Clark, where it appears to be a we know best what's good for Fiji attitude. He was commenting prior to the South Pacific Forum in Rarotonga that's on at the moment, that if Fiji wanted to be welcomed back and into the international community, then they needed to address their court system and justice system that wasn't fair. I've just had a discussion with Christopher Pride about that, and I've been wandering around the functioning court system where I didn't see a policeman or a soldier at all in any of the courtrooms.
I wonder what they mean about taking our place back within the international community. We may not be in their group of who they perceive to be people who should be subordinate to comments like that of Mr. Philgoff. I don't think it's that kind of neo-colonial attitude does not work anymore, and it creates a deep resentment as the world is going forward with the open media and everything. Everyone knows what's happening else everywhere. But going back to that comment, see, I don't know what he's on about. It's very, very easy, just to pull something out of your pocket and say that the judiciary in Fiji is not fair. Can you cite a case where the decision has not been fair at all? I mean, how do you qualify it? Is he referring to questions of perception, Is he saying that only judges from Australia and New Zealand are fair?
Well, that's an interesting comment there, because I understand that 16 judges have just been sworn in from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
And the reason why you've had to get 16 judges from Sri Lanka is because of the so-called smart sanctions, meaning that people from New Zealand and Australia feel prevented from participating in creating a fair judiciary.
Well, I tell you what, are they saying that to have the best in the world, to have a fair system within the judiciary, that it must have Australians and New Zealanders?
Well, I'm not sure if they are saying that, but it's certainly...
Well, it's certainly pointing that way, because what's wrong? I mean, countries like Sri Lanka, India have got their own people. I will say that we are too dumb here in Fiji to have, to make a fair choice of who we think are fair representatives of the law and all that, or make a fair judgment as a judge. So, I don't know. So when they question fairness or independence and all that, what is it based on? I mean, I don't know.
Well, they never provide any examples. But as I had a good discussion with Chris. He explained.
Maybe they think that it has to be a retired. Well, look at it this way: if you're talking about a former Chief Justice in Australia or New Zealand, and if that retired Chief Justice is also on the bench in Singapore, who is also a questionable democracy, or if it's a democracy at all, what difference does that make for that kind of judge over there, a former Chief Justice, and for
it's interesting.
A Kiwi here in Fiji? I mean, what's the difference?
This is one
so
thing.
So that is okay.
Yeah.
For New Zealand, and they have not spoken out. He has never spoken out against that Chief Justice. I'm not sure if it's from former Chief Justice from Australia, New Zealand, that is serving on the appellate court in Singapore. What have they got to say to that?
Well, then there's the case of New Zealand has free trade agreements with China. China's not a democracy.
But I mean, we're talking about here the independence of the judiciary that they've always talked about, but they have never been able to qualify. Plus, on top of that, when we give them cases where there's actually contradictory in terms of what they're saying and what Kiwis are doing and endorsed by the New Zealand government, they are unable to, they have no answers for these things. So they said, well, that's the choice of an individual to go. But why are they harping about Sri Lankans coming here if you're not taking Kiwis or Aussies? I think that's a choice that we should be making. This is the free choice of those that have come here. I don't see anything wrong with that. So I do think that they're no good or what I mean.
In terms of the path to democracy, how is constitutional debate going? And
I think it's very healthy at the moment. Everyone's throwing in their bit. The process is open. It's open to the media.
I noticed in the car and the radio that there's advertisements in every ad break on all of the radio stations inviting people to participate.
Yeah, and whatever they say to the forum or to the commission is actually, in the public arena. So everyone else gets to debate on it. So it's a good thing. It's
quite interesting. In New Zealand, there's a constitutional debate going on at the moment, but it's very much closed in terms of the process is owned by the politicians and controlled by the politicians. There certainly doesn't seem to be
politicians are overrated. That's what they are. They're not the true representative of society. We want the people. The constitution is for the people. It's not for the politician. It's not just for the communities. It's not just for political parties. It's also for the individuals. So there is absolutely nothing wrong, in my view, about a person coming to air their personal view and making representations for themselves. And that's why we're going out in numbers to tell the people to come and individually just come and speak their mind. Yeah. There is nothing that anyone cannot say to the Constitution Commission.
Well, it's a refreshing openness to have.
That's what it should be. It should be about the people.
Well, Constitution is about a document that represents all of the people of a country.
It does. It is the collective. It is the collection of aspirations about who we want ourselves to be.
One of the comments that people make in New Zealand is that they want Fiji to return to democracy, and they want it to return to democracy under the former constitution. I'm going to address some of those issues with the Attorney General when I meet him this afternoon. But in my own personal view, the former constitution, which was imposed upon Fiji by the international community, had some deep flaws in that. Is that the view of most Fijians as well?
If it weren't flawed, it'd still be standing, mate.
Yeah.
The three constitutions we've had have been constitutions by politicians, by political parties, representatives of political ideologies. 1970, it was held in London. There was Ratumara, there was Mr. Sidikoy, A.D. Patel. They went across, they cooked it over there, and they brought it back. 1990, Constitution, it was Rambuka. There was no consultation.
Rambuka, Paul Reeves.
That's right.
Jeffrey Palmer.
Now I'm talking about 1992 Constitution.
Yeah.
5 years later, there was 1997. Okay. That was, no, the consultation was not as public as this. It received, submissions from the more traditional institutions.
Yeah.
The more traditional constitution, which deals with the usual things. Okay. Got endorsed behind closed doors at the chiefs' meeting, dragged through there, sabotaged into Parliament because the chiefs had it, and that was 1997. In any case, not everything that was recommended by the Commission was taken by Parliament at the time, or it was essentially cut off in certain places. And the worst part of it is that it endorsed political representations according to, ethnicity.
It entrenched racism.
Yeah, well, racism is a state of mind. I think what the Constitution did not actually provide a space for people to come together. That's my view, Whether it actually encouraged racism is another matter. Race is a flawed concept in my view. And look at you. Look at me, I don't know, So
just a couple of Kaiviti.
Absolutely. So, that was I think the flaw of that. But the advantage of this one is we're going to have a new one, and then it's going to be what people want it to be. With all their frankness and everything. So it doesn't need only to capture, political parties and views of their leaders and religious bodies and whoever else has always been talking this while.
I know you're really busy. You've got another meeting to go to. Is there a final thing that you'd like to have me pass on to people of New Zealand or the government of New Zealand?
Yeah. Well, we want to continually engage. We want some understanding. I think we just want to be respected, as a people who might be different in our view about certain things, and it's okay to be different. That things cannot always be viewed, that how they view things cannot always be the norm. The world changes, people change. Accepting change, and that they need to accept that people actually do move on. We're trying to find our feet in the regional community, and that has been one of our biggest challenges. We've tried to live outside the ambit of the Pacific Island Forum. We've created our relevance in other forums, which questions the other forums. So it just goes to show that, the world, the view of the people of the world and view of the people of Fiji actually change. We've been seeing, this bottle from this end all the time. We know there's a bottle there. That's the myth that we've always been painted, until someone said, there's actually there's 4 other corners to this bottle, and actually looks different from another side.
Yes.
So what's wrong about that view compared to that view? What we're saying is that it's actually okay to be different. And all we're seeking is understanding, 40 years of coups and problems. It'll take us another 40 years to actually get up there, but you've got to allow us to start to stand on our own 2 feet to actually do it, without them, saying that that's got to be the way you do it, the way that we want you to do it. That's my parting comment. So we invite, we want to engage, we will always engage, and at the end of the day, we love the Aussies and the Kiwis.
Well, we've all got rugby to play, haven't we?
Still have to beat them though, but... Okay.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man. I need to go to this.